Welcome back to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do these without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to start by saying thank you to all of them. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to thank our platinum sponsors, including Gilman Gear, always a step ahead. Camp Mobile, where leaders communicate better. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. Gipper, sports graphics made incredibly simple. And Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD. Today, we're heading out to the great Northwest in Seattle, Washington. We're going to visit with Lacey London. Lacey is a certified athletic administrator, and she's the athletic director at Holy Names Academy in Seattle. Lacey, welcome to the podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me, Jake. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We're excited to hear what's going on out there. So, as you know, it's a busy time for athletic directors, so we're going to jump right into it. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and maybe how your love of sports led to a career in athletics.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm born and raised here. Well, technically I was born in Edmonds, which is close to Seattle. So I'm a Seattle girl through and through. Grew up here, went away shortly for a college stint up in Bellingham, Washington. So I've been in Washington my whole life. I grew up playing basketball and volleyball at the age, started in 5th grade and continued on through high school, Seattle Lutheran High School, again, local school here. Went on to Highline Community College for 2 years, where I played a year of volleyball there, and then just completely transitioned into coaching. Got my AA from Highline, went up to Western Washington University, where I received my degree in physical education and health and my teaching certificate, and then came on back to Seattle, where I took a role at Holy Names as a coach, long-term sub, and transitioned into athletics from there. I did get my master's degree from Concordia University Irvine in 2015. So after a while of being in the job, I did go and get my master's degree, and that kind of ties into my NIAAA connection and all of that. So this is kind of like an overview of where I grew up and came from. Really fell in love with volleyball and basketball at a young age when my friend said, "Hey, let's play volleyball." And I said, "Okay." And that just, I never would have thought that would have started me down this path of, playing through high school, playing club volleyball, playing in college, and then having a pretty bad knee injury. I had surgery in high school, and that kind of limited where I was at, and just went into the coaching realm. So that's kind of just my little basic path. My high school athletic director actually invited me to start coaching basketball camps in my sophomore year of high school. And that triggered a love of working with kids and the interest of athletics. So I think I always kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to go into this route. And actually in high school, I jokingly said, "I'm taking your job." I didn't end up doing that, but I actually got to work with him side by side, which was even better, in some collaboration at our district level.
I appreciate you sharing it. It's always great to hear, the background and the stories, if you will. I've been down in Florida now for, this is 20 years, but I was raised and went to high school in the Portland, Vancouver area. I graduated from Battleground High School, graduated from Clark College there in Vancouver. So I know Highline and that group of community colleges, and still have a lot of friends that went into the profession. in the state of Washington. So it's neat to hear you mention all those places, bring back some good memories. Okay.
Absolutely.
You talked about a little bit about your coaches, and we always like to go into this idea of mentoring. Leadership so important in our profession. So I'm curious, who were some of your mentors growing up? Either coaches or teachers that you had, or maybe people that you worked with or worked for. The expression I like to use is, whose voice do you still hear in your head when you're talking to your coaches or your student athletes?
Absolutely. Early on, my grade school volleyball coach was pretty impactful. She's not someone that I really think of often, but to have a strong female coach that coached me from 5th grade all the way through 8th grade was pretty, now I look back and say that's a unique experience. All right. And so Coach Veronica was pretty awesome, just opening that door and just giving me the love, teaching me the basic skills. I couldn't overhand serve for volleyball until I was a sophomore in high school. And the fact that I basically made my career as a volleyball coach, it's like these basic skills that I just didn't have the upper body strength. I wasn't strong enough to do it. And that's funny to me now, but she was a great influence just to kind of get started into the sport. I would say my true mentor and person that I just think of regularly, even to this day, was Bob Dowdy, my high school athletic director. He was a very friendly guy, just, really welcoming. With Seattle Lutheran High School is a small high school in Seattle. It's the smallest classification. I think we were level B at the time. I think now they're either 1B or 2 because they've split that into 2 classifications. But Mr. Dowdy, he was always just, pushing us to be the best that we could be. When he invited me to coach the summer camp, that was like, okay, cool, that'll be fun. Later that summer, and I had a great experience, just had a lot of fun running the drills and being an example for the little kids. And that summer, later on, I received a thank you note from him. It had a small gift card in it, but the note itself, I actually still have it today, said, so thank you for spending your time this summer. We appreciate you, all of this. But it also said, you made an impact on these kids' lives, but you may not know it. They made a huge, bigger impact on your life. And it's kind of like, I'm a sophomore in high school. I don't really know what this means, coach. Okay, thanks. But I hung on to that. And that note, it's funny how that's found its way with me through college. It's found its way with me through my professional life. And I continued to coach that basketball camp through high school, through my senior year. And by my senior year, I was the lead of it. And then stayed in contact. My sister is 8.5 years younger than me. So as I was graduating college at Western, so I had gone away for a few years, she was transitioning into that same high school. So I was really fortunate to be able to stay in contact with him closely, to have him watch my sister play after me. And we just stayed in contact. He really, in high school, maybe make some bad decisions here and there, but he kind of dropped the hammer on me a few times, but in a loving way, always with love, always with, just compassion, but just going to set you right. Like, you're dumb. That was a bad choice that you made there, Lacey. Who were you hanging out with? Let's make it right. Let's be an example, be a better example for people. So I was fortunate to speak at his retirement celebration when he retired from Seattle Lutheran. And then I was also able to have him, nominate him and have him inducted into our state Hall of Fame for athletic administrators. Unfortunately, he had passed from cancer before being able to accept the award, but his family was there, and a whole just crew of Seattle Lutheran fans came out to be a part of that. But yeah, Bob Dowdy always has a special spot in my heart. And my maiden name was Smart. And so whenever I would make a basket, because he would be the announcer at the games, and I'd make a basket for basketball and be like, that was a smart shot, or that was a smart this or that. So we just kind of always had just this bond. And then as an adult, to be able to work with him when I became the athletic director at Holy Names and got involved at the district level, he sat on the district board, I sat on the district board. We were up for athletic director of the year together, and he was just like, it's your time now. It's your time for that. And which, I'm like, I voted for him. He voted for me. We kind of canceled each other out. And ultimately I was selected that year, but for our district rep. But yeah, he's the guy that I've always just had that in the back of my head. And I have that card, or I was actually looking for it this morning. It's on my desk, my kitchen table desk here someplace, but I want to frame that.
No, and again, we love to hear those stories about the people that have impacted our lives. And it's just a great reminder, we didn't get here on our own. We're truly standing on the shoulders of giants. So, great job. Thanks
Absolutely.
for sharing. Talk a little bit about your transition from the teacher coach component to the athletic director side. How did that happen? And, maybe what was something that surprised you during the transition?
Yeah. My roles, my introduction to athletics or just the athletic director world is kind of a unique one. I, at a college, knew somebody who told me about an opportunity to coach volleyball at Holy Names. So right out of college, I interviewed for an assistant position. They also had a need for subs. And so I started subbing. I wasn't looking for a full-time teaching position at the time. I don't know why. I just was like, oh, I've got this volleyball coaching job. That's enough. That's not enough to live on. And so I started subbing for Holy Names and was there pretty regularly. It worked out that their athletic director was pregnant at the time. And so I was coaching volleyball, subbing like at least once or twice a week, just in various spots in the building. They asked me to help coach basketball as well. And I kind of jokingly, I'm like, are you just trying to keep me around so I don't get a job someplace else? Because Jana was pregnant and they wanted, I thought they wanted me to take our health teacher's job because she was also pregnant at the time. So there was something in the water that year. And they offered me a position to be a long-term sub for our athletic director. And I taught some PE and health classes and also served as assistant athletic director. She was still managing the higher level items like our budget, and was still going to meetings and that sort of thing, but I kind of managed the day-to-day in the office, which I really enjoyed, but all while teaching health and PE, which was that's what I got my degree in. I loved that. After 2 years, she came back and to be full-time athletic director, and they kept me on as still as assistant AD, but I took on more health classes at the time. And then 2 years later, the opportunity was open for me to become the athletic director. And my principal called me up to the office and said, hey, don't say yes right now. And I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. So at age 28, I was the athletic director at Holy Names, which was crazy that I had that opportunity that young. I know it's not the normal path for people, but now I'm entering my 15th year at the school, and that's where I've been my whole career, which I know is completely unique, and it's just such a great spot for me. Athletics has changed. My role has changed quite a bit. I've taken on more. Obviously, I've grown. In the early years, it was just all about Holy Names and my experience with my student athletes and making them have that best opportunity. And then within the Metro League, and then I slowly expanded out to working on our district board and getting involved with eligibility and in the state level and national. So I really expanded from becoming just going in as a physical education health teacher, long-term sub, to working I'm on the state association, our WASA board. I've been on that board for 4 or 5 years now. This is my second year as past president because we kept our officers the same because of COVID and not having a conference last year. So.
Again, it's just great to hear the details that go into making up someone's career. Let's go and talk about Holy Names a little bit. You've been there, as you said, 15 years now. One of the things we like to share on the podcast is this idea of best practices. So what are some best practices at Holy Names? What are some things that you see your coaches and your department just really doing a great job? Like, we're the best in the state. We're the best in the country at doing this. What are some best practices you can share?
Yeah. So Holy Names is an all-girl Catholic school. We're located on Capitol Hill in Seattle, Washington. We've been there. We're the longest standing longest operating school in Washington. And we have a great tradition of just the kids want to be there. Our student athletes want to be there. It's high academics, but also great working there. I really appreciate that our coaches understand that student athlete. We really put the student first and the athlete as second. It's a privilege to play for our school. And I tell those kids that every time. I'm like, you are a daughter first, you're a student second, you're an athlete third. So those are your jobs. Within our school, what do we do the best? Or I don't know. We're pretty competitive, which is great. It's physical skill. We have a lot of kids that come in from various areas of the city, which is awesome. I just really appreciate the sportsmanship aspect of it. When I work at our league level, when we work with at the district level, Holy Names has a good reputation of kids and coaches being respectful and good. And good competitors. I mean, yes, we're going to bring the competition, and when the heat of the competition, you may not be friends in that moment, but afterwards we're going to shake your hand and we're going to be polite and that. So I really do appreciate that. I guess this is not really necessarily athletics, but one strong tradition about Holy Names, and I know other schools do it as well. When I came into the school, when a team would make the state championship, we would line the halls and they get clapped out. So that's a pretty fun experience. Our building is 4 stories high of classrooms. And it's old wooden floors. So, I mean, this building is absolutely beautiful, but they start up on one end and you just hear this roar and thunder of kids like running down the stairs and running through the hall and people screaming and cheering. And the kids, they just love it. They want their clap out, even if they have to come back to school or, for some other experiences. That's what they ask for. They ask for that clap out. They want that experience of their teammates really, or their classmates really pushing them on to do well at the tournament, even if we don't get the greatest turnout at our events all the time. Because that academic piece, those kids, they're like, oh, I've got to do my homework. I'm like, just come to the game. It'll be really fun. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty fun experience for them and something that I would recommend people try and get involved in. I think that gives the kids a really positive experience to have their peers and teachers and people in the building to show them support as they go out for a big competition.
I love those, school traditions, those long-standing things. We've got a couple at our school. I just came across one a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever heard of the Silent Night spirit activity?
No, I don't think so. Tell me about it.
I'm going to. I guess Taylor University in Indiana, started it, years and years ago, but they do it during a basketball game during the holiday, and the idea is when the game starts, the home crowd is completely silent until their team scores their 10th point. And then the place just erupts and goes crazy. And they do, costumes and themes and dress ups and things like that. Yeah. And, one high school did it around the holidays. So they sang Silent Night, the student body at halftime. But there's a video on it on ESPN, Google Silent Night, Taylor University. It's just the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm trying to figure out how to get it going at my school. But
that's
again,
awesome.
Love those traditions. Let's go and jump into COVID. And again, for our listeners, we're recording this on December 10th. So by the time it airs, things hopefully will have changed for the better. But Lacey, we've seen a tremendous variety in how states have responded, both academically as well as athletically with sports. So right now on December 10th, what's happening in the great state of Washington? What's happening at Holy Names as far as return to school academically, as well as return to play and sports? Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so we have been at Holy Names, and actually most schools in the state are virtual. Some schools do have, younger students on campus, and there are some smaller Christian schools. Actually, Seattle Lutheran, my alma mater, is in person. But they're a very small school, and they have the ability to manage that a little easier. Most schools are still virtual. We are a virtual environment. I teach physical education from the living room of my house and get some great workouts in with my kids. The state has allowed us, and they've broadened some opportunities for us to do in-person trainings. So the state of Washington, WIA, released Summer 2.0. So just basically out of season training opportunity that began at the end of September and keeps getting extended. We just keep extending it as our start date for sports push out. So currently we are looking at February 1st as being the start of our winter sports season. We'll see. We're hoping so. I think our lockdown here in the state just got extended till January 14th. So we will see about that. But when this latest lockdown came out, they did not stop sports for us. So we still can offer trainings. They just said no indoor training. It has to all be outdoors. And students and coaches all have to wear masks at all times. So for a while, you were able to remove the mask for, vigorous exertion. So the cross country team doing training that would be more of an endurance activity, that they're breathing harder, you could have your mask off. Now the mask has to stay on. So I think that there's some schools here and there that are offering the outdoor training. I actually was able to go out yesterday. I had my lacrosse team and my soccer team sharing a field near the school, and we had about maybe 30 kids out there total, just in their separate spots. They have to be in pods of 6, but they are allowed to do some brief contact is allowed. They're supposed to keep physical distancing. So that was actually the first time that I've seen my soccer kids play. They had in just small group games. Like my coach had lots of creativity with opportunities to come up. She's a pro at these different games, and the kids were actually able to use the ball and play against each other, and it was good to see. As a state, we meet every Wednesday or every other Wednesday with our WASA Wednesdays that we offer here. We have speakers come in, and then we just give updates on COVID. The WIA will give a report on the latest board meeting, and we just keep planning and hoping that we're going to get to a point that we are, and hopefully when this airs, we will be to the point where we're actually going to be playing a season. Told my coaches by February 1st, I'm either going to be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It's so crazy with everything that has to happen, but right now at one point I had 13 out of my 14 sports operating at one time, which is not the normal thing. Normally you'd have 6, 7 sports operating at once and planning for others. So it was a little crazy in the fall, but we hope to be moving towards an opportunity to bring kids back on campus, to bring kids back into sport. There's conversation about sport continuing. There's a dilemma of, can sports happen if kids aren't in session, if they're not physically in the building, even a hybrid model. And in some of our larger districts, I'm not sure that they are going to be able to get into a hybrid model where we're holding names. We're hopeful. We're smaller. We're still a large community of, almost 700 kids, but, 680, I think is our number, but still to manage that on-campus experience is going to be an interesting experience. I don't know. We're hoping to be there. I don't have a great answer for that.
Well, keep, through your organization, of course, keep pushing for, safe return to play, safe return to school. And, hopefully that's going to trend in a positive way. Lacey, another question we've been asking our athletic directors revolves around the idea of social issues, social justice, if you will. And, my question has been this, what are some things that we can do as athletic directors? What can we do better in this area for our kids, our schools, our programs? How can we do a better job in this area of, social issues?
Absolutely. We're here in Seattle. We had CHOP, which everybody heard about, and it wasn't not that big of an area considering what was portrayed in the media. But still, it was really unsettling, and we had a lot happening here this summer. it's spurred some great conversations. The Metro League that Holy Names is a part of is the largest private public school league in the state. So we have a total of 18 schools. 6 of us are private, and then there's one that's across the water, and then the other are the Seattle public schools. So, and that can range from having kids in the north end, which are, more affluent, to kids in the south end, which are not. And so even in the public schools, there can be some divide. So we as a league have started meeting. We have special meetings that are just about social issues. Let's just talk. We need, as athletic directors, to just talk about it. We need to come together as a united front, and to give our community an understanding of, let's introduce each other. Yes, you're a competitor on the field. Yes, you're a competitor in the gym, but there's something to be said about showing somebody that you're human, and just, yes, there's big issues that we need to tackle, and we are talking about those issues as far as race relations and all of that. And we have these, we actually have a call again next Wednesday where we're going to follow up. We listened to Pete Carroll's conversation that he had a press conference and talked about, we need to do better. We need to do better as our white coaches, as our white, athletic directors. It's a call to action here. We need to do better for our student athletes. And so that spurred conversation within our league as athletic directors. And it was really nice just to sit down and to take the planning off the table, and let's talk about what we can do. And we've come up with ideas as far as, we have SMAC, which is the Student Metro Athletic Council, that's been meeting in the past, and it's kind of taken a pause right now. We haven't done anything with those kids, and because of COVID, but that could be an opportunity where we create the social justice opportunity for kids to have conversations. And when we did bring those kids together, we asked them different questions, had them show their school spirit, had them show different ideas, and it really, it opened up their eyes to, break down barriers of what do you think, Holy Names is an all-girls school. What are we known for? Well, we're known for our academics and these smart kids with their nose in their books, or this or that, and then this is what we actually want to be known for. And so just to kind of open that opportunity for conversation, I think that as athletic directors, we can facilitate that and just provide opportunities for kids to talk and meet each other.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Athletics is just naturally a venue for that sort of thing. And it's great that you've got that athlete council in place, and they can, hopefully initiate some positive direction. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears a little bit. I always ask the athletic directors, what's your favorite part of the job? And of course, after about 30 or 40 interviews, they always said the same thing, the kids. And of course, it should be the kids. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this business. But acknowledging that you love your kids. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some other things that get you excited about coming to school each day at Holy Names?
Obviously, the kids are a great example. They really fire you up and give you that purpose of being there. Just the opportunity to provide, to know that I am an example for them. That's something that's interesting. Lately, we've been doing Washington hosted a Washington Women's Leadership Conference recently, and it just kind of brought up that I have had strong female role models in my life, and I want to be that for my student athletes, to show them an example of you can work hard, you can achieve your goals, and you can earn the respect of your peers. So that's one thing that's kind of fires me up to be there. I love planning. I'm a planner through and through. I just love to coordinate events, and I think that's just fun. I'm not necessarily the greatest at bracketology. I don't look at a bracket and I'm like, oh, you can do this, this, and this. That's not my strength. I have other colleagues that just blow my mind when they come out with ideas. But I can definitely put an event together and run something and just be that detail-oriented, creative person. And it's fun to be able to throw my creativity in to those events and experiences for kids.
Again, it's the kids, it's the people, it's everything about the school.
Yeah.
Well, Lacey, this has been great chatting with you. Appreciate you sharing, but we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with what we call the new athletic director's toolbox. As we've mentioned, you're an experienced athletic director, doing a great job. But right now, I'm going to task you with sending out a brand new AD on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Lacey London's athletic director toolbox?
Well, my first thing is going to be balance. That's something that I encourage every athletic director to embrace. And they tell you on the airplane, if something's going on, put your mask on first before you put somebody else's mask on. We have to take care of ourselves first. And that means self-care, that means time with your family, that means exercising, that means eating right, preparing food for yourself. It can look different for different people, and we're not always going to have a workout, a proper lunch, and a time with our family when we have, a 15, 16-hour day at school. Like, it's just not going to happen. But you need to schedule time for yourself and manage that time, because you have to take care of yourself, and we can't be unhealthy in this role. We have to be good role models of showing that balance. Is helpful for our students too, and our coaches. So find some balance for yourself, whatever that looks like. The second thing would be to take care of your people. So your custodians, your gate workers, your kitchen staff, get to know them, because especially as a new athletic director, when you don't know what key gets you into a certain area of the building, they are going to be the person that helps you when the water jug that's being rolled out to the court for a basketball game spills over and you have a ton of water on the floor. They are going to be the one to come and save you. So just, take care of your people, get to know them. If you have extra swag, throw them their way, and just say thank you. Every Christmas, I always usually bake cookies for my maintenance staff, and just a little note, thanks for making the dome sparkle. We have a big dome on our building, and just a little thank you. And one of them came up to me and was like, hey, are you still making the cookies this year? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get you your cookies, don't worry. So it's just good to, be friendly and get to know people. And the last one I would say is, your job is bigger than your building. Early on in my career, I was caught in my building, and it's great. Like, your buildings, those kids are your kids, you really build bonds with them, your coaches and your staff. But expand outside of that, get to know your league or division or district or whatever it's called in your area, in your state. Get to know the other athletic directors that are there. Expand out to your state level, get involved with the NIAAA. It will really make you a better athletic director. And I know it's a challenge to feel like you're just trying to keep your head above water, but these people will help you. They will lift you up, and they will give you ideas that will make your job easier if you just ask. So ask for help.
Great advice. I love it. Taking care of your people. It's amazing how much currency you get from a t-shirt or a hat. And appreciate the shout out for our national organization, as well as, the state association network, create those connections. The athletic director world is all about helping each other. It's not about secrets. It's about sharing. So thanks for giving that. Lacey, again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. All the best as you continue to work toward reopening.
Thank you. And, good luck to you all, and happy holidays.
Oh, right back at you. To our listeners, remember, these interviews are also available on YouTube at the FIAAA Educational Athletic Director YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for tuning in to the Educational AD.